Hi everyone, I'm Veronica and welcome back to my channel where we talk about clothes, textiles, how to choose them, how to care for them, and basically everything about them. Today, I want to talk about the chemicals in clothes, the ones that nobody talks about, that are not put on labels, but they are still there. We just can't live without them, right? Those chemicals can cause a lot of issues, especially if you're allergic or have sensitive skin. So let's talk about how these chemicals appear, how to avoid them, and what to do about it. First, let's see how chemicals end up in clothes. And in order to do that, we have to understand how clothes are made and what are the production processes that an item goes through before we buy it. So everything starts with the fibers, the basis of each material from which the clothes are made. And this is the phase when various chemicals can already get soaked by the fibers, which later will end up in the finished clothes. This can happen either at the actual growing phase of the raw materials, as in the case of plant-based fibers like cotton, or later during the production of the fibers. In short, no fiber is clean of chemicals. None. Unless they are produced in-house and you know exactly you didn't put anything in them. But this is so rare nowadays, and it anyways is not the case for the clothes that are in stores, the ones that we buy, so we'll not consider them. Nowadays, when a fiber is made, chemicals are a necessity. It's not a matter of if chemicals will be used. It's a matter of which chemicals, in what quantity, and at which production step. So let's go through some examples. First, let's discuss about fibers that are grown, the ones that are obtained from plants, for example, like cotton. Cotton fibers are obtained from the cotton plant, and the cotton growing industry is known to consume a lot of fertilizers, pesticides, and defoliants that will end up in the plant in some quantity, unfortunately. Only organic cotton is grown using agricultural practices that minimize environmental impact by avoiding synthetic pesticides or fertilizers, making them a cleaner version of cotton. But the truly organic cotton is expensive and it should also be certified, which means being put on the label. So that's also not something broadly seen in the market, and especially not in the mass market brands, and even less in the fast fashion brands. Another case are the fibers that are not grown, but chemically obtained. They go through a huge amount of chemicals at every single manufacturing step, and that's a whole new land which I'll try to explain further. One of these fibers is polyester. Polyester is not grown, but manufactured. It is a synthetic fiber made from petroleum-based chemicals, primarily polyethylene terephthalate or PET, like the ones that the plastic bottles are made of. The production process involves refining crude oil, extracting ethylene, and then polymerizing it into long chains of plastic that are spun into fibers. This process requires high energy input and a significant amount of chemicals, including antimony as a catalyst, which can leave residues in the final fiber. Unlike cotton, there is no possible sustainable and cleaner version of polyester, so regardless of the type, recycled or not, polyester is always treated with chemicals. So now that we understand how the process of obtaining fibers is and what can be left in them after the production phase, let's discuss about the chemicals that can be soaked in by the fibers in the next step, the production of the materials, and later on, the clothes themselves. There can be two major categories of chemicals that a piece of fabric or clothing can have in it. Chemicals that serve a purpose, let's call them purposeful chemicals, and finishing chemicals, something that is done in the last step of production. Purposeful chemicals. The purposeful chemicals are the ones that actually serve a role. There's usually a reason they're there, even if that reason is just to cut costs, unfortunately. There are several main types: dyes and color fixers, bleaching agents, optical brighteners, and sizing agents. Let's go through them one by one and see what they do. First up, sizing agents. Most probably you didn't hear about these chemicals and you have never thought there's something like this in your clothes. During weaving, yarns are coated with these chemicals to make them stronger and reduce breakage on the loom. Traditionally, it was starch. Now, more often polyvinyl alcohol or carboxymethyl cellulose. These are supposed to be washed out after weaving, but if some residue sticks around, fabrics can feel stiff, less breathable, or even irritate sensitive skin. So yes, sizing is necessary, but leftover sizing chemicals? Not so fun. Next, bleaching agents. Most probably you already understand what they do. Before natural fibers get their color, they usually need to be whitened to create a clean base, because not all dyes get stick to the fabric, so it has to be whitened out at first. Chemicals like chlorine, sodium hypochlorite, or hydrogen peroxide do the job. Handled properly, there are no problem with them. But if there are any leftover in them, that's when the problem starts. Fibers can weaken, skin can get irritated, and those harmful residues lingering in your clothes can actually have a long time of action. Then dyes. I think with dyes is pretty obvious. They give fabrics color or patterns. But there's a thing, any dye comes with color fixers. Without them, dyes wash out fast, or fade. There's a huge variety of dyes depending on the fabric that is going to be dyed, type, color, texture, even how the garment will be used. But the risk, the excess dye or fixers that are not properly removed can irritate the skin, trigger allergies, or release harmful substances over time, just increasing these risks. And low quality dyes or poorly fixed dyes can even rub off on you if you sweat or get caught in the rain, literally coloring your skin. There are a lot of stories online about it, just Google it. Optical brighteners. Optical brighteners are a less obvious type of chemical, and like dyes, they don't add color, they trick your eye. These fluorescent chemicals absorb UV light and re-emit it as a blue light, making fabrics look whiter and brighter. But the effect is mostly cosmetic, but for delicate skin, they can cause sensitivity or allergic reactions. Now let's get into finishing chemicals. These are added after weaving and dyeing to give fabrics extra properties. Is it convenient? Yes. Are there hidden risks? Also yes. There are also many kinds of these chemicals, so let's go through them one by one. Wrinkle-free and easy care finishes. These finishes usually come from formaldehyde-based resins. They keep fabric smooth, resist wrinkles, hold shape, even add stiffness. So this sounds perfect, right? Like a clothing that you don't have to iron at all and it looks perfect. But formaldehyde can release over time and is linked to skin irritation and respiratory issues. So it's a convenience, but it comes with a price. Waterproofing and stain resistance chemicals. This type of chemicals often rely on PFAS, which are also called forever chemicals. PFAS are per- and polyfluoroacryl substances that are used in various products like non-stick cookware, stain-resistant fabrics, and firefighting foams. They don't break down in the environment, they can accumulate in your body, and they're usually used for outerwear, uniforms, even easy care everyday clothes. If uncontrolled, they can disrupt hormones, affect your immune system, and raise risks of certain diseases. Yes, they do the job, but the consequences are real, so we should also be careful with this type of clothing. Flame retardants. These type of chemicals are used in uniforms, household textiles, and sometimes children's clothes. The chemicals themselves, like brominated compounds and organophosphate, reduce flammability. This is to increase their safety, but the catch is that many of these have been linked to long-term health concerns, including hormone disruption. So it's a trade-off, like basically any chemical we're talking about today. And here's the twist. Because of those health risks, most kids' clothes actually aren't treated with flame retardants. That's why you'll see the label "Keep away from fire" on baby and children's clothing. It's not just a random warning, it's basically saying this fabric hasn't been chemically treated to resist flames. And since most fibers can catch fire quickly, especially synthetics, that label is there to remind you to keep those clothes well away from open flames or heat sources. Next, softeners. They make fabrics feel smooth and drapey, and they are usually silicone-based or quaternary ammonium compounds. Laundry softeners, the one that you can buy in stores and use at home, work the same way. They coat the fibers to give that soft feel. Problem is, residues can trigger sensitivities. My advice, don't use fabric softeners at all. But if you do, don't overdo it. Just follow the label instructions, especially on towels, fleece, or other porous fabrics that can soak in all those extra chemicals. And finally, antimicrobial and odor control agents. Sportswear, socks, underwear, these often contain silver nanoparticles, triclosan, or quaternary ammonium compounds to fight odor and bacterial growth. They are great for making clothes stay fresh, but these chemicals wash out into waterways, raising environmental concerns and even contributing to bacterial resistance. So now that we know how chemicals show up in clothes, what types exist, and what happens when there's too much of them, let's talk about how they could actually affect you and why it matters. Everyday exposure is the first thing. We wear clothes every single day, and chemicals don't just sit quietly in the fabric. They touch our skin, they rub off when we sweat, they release tiny particles into indoor air, so we breathe it in, and every wash cycle pushes out more chemicals into the laundry water, down the sewage, and so on. The bottom line is, you're not just wearing clothes, you're in constant contact with the treatments they've gone through. And that's worth remembering. Then there are the health risks. Some effects show up fast. Irritation, rashes, allergic reactions. Basically, if you're a sensitive person, you already know what I'm talking about. Others are long-term. Chemicals like formaldehyde or flame retardants have been linked to endocrine disruption, which basically means that they can mess up with your hormones. And this is something we can find out only after a long period of time. And here's the thing. You won't notice that right away. They build over time. It's not a matter of if these exposures affect people. It's a matter of how much, how long, and what choices you make with your clothes. What you buy, how you wash, how you dry, even how you store them. It all makes a difference. And listen, I'm not here to scare you. This isn't about panic, it's about awareness. If you know how these things work, you can act smarter and reduce the downsides. That way, clothes will be something that supports your life, not something that is quietly working against it. So you might be thinking right now, okay, what do I actually do with all this information? What should I wear? Is there anything on this planet worth wearing? How do I choose the proper clothes? How do I protect myself from all of them? Let's break it down into real practical steps. And what I'm going to share is basically everything I do because I'm a sensitive person. I have sensitive skin to a lot of things. I have allergic reactions, and basically every single time I enter into a clothing store, I start coughing, sneezing, crying. My skin can get irritated from trying on clothes. Basically, I just face all of this every single day. So these steps are something I do, and I strongly recommend you to do it to either decrease their impact on yourself or on your family or on your children or on whoever you are living together or with your friends, because knowing something that is good for ourselves is not something worth gatekeeping, just like I'm doing now. It's worth sharing in order to protect ourselves and live as a healthier life we can in the current industry and economy and society. The first thing to do is very simple. Just bring fewer toxic items into your home and onto your skin. You may be attentive that I said fewer. I didn't say none because let's face it, nowadays there is a high chance that something is going to be contaminated or has a lot of chemicals in it. So let's at least try to bring less things into our homes. For this, you could do the smell test. If a garment has a strong chemical odor, skip it. If it smells like plastic, if it smells like something bad, most probably it has bad things in it. So just don't grab it. Just let it be. That smell isn't smelling like new clothes. It's smelling like chemical residues. Also, check the labels. Look for fiber content, origin, and care instructions. The more transparent, the better. Synthetic fibers, due to the way they are obtained, are usually more prone to having chemical residues in them, besides all the other downsides they have. So skipping on them could be a good idea. Also, avoid certain claims. Wrinkle-free, stain-resistant, antimicrobial. These almost always mean extra chemical finishes, like we discussed before. There is no other magical option to get a piece of clothing to behave that way, so it must have been treated with something. Remember that. If something sounds too good to be true, most probably there are chemicals involved. Easy like that. Another thing you could do is to also check if there are any certifications mentioned on the label. Here are a few worth trusting. Oekotex. It tests for harmful substances. GOTS has strict rules for organic textiles and chemical limits. Blue Sign. It ensures responsible chemicals used in production. Fair Trade Certified. It's mostly about labor, but also sets some chemical standards. Cradle to Cradle. It's a safety plus recyclability of materials. So pay attention to these certifications. So if you see them on the label, it's something good. And once the clothes are in your home, the very first thing you should do is wash them. Always. No exceptions. Because here's the truth. Clothes can carry leftover dyes, fixtures, finishes, basically all the chemicals I've talked about in the beginning of the video. The only way to get rid of at least some of that chemical load, especially the one that is in the form of dust, is by washing. And no, you don't need the harshest cycle. Even a 30-45 minute wash does the job for new clothes. Most of those chemicals are in the form of dust anyway, so a rinse will help a lot already. I know it's exciting to wear the new piece as soon as you get it, but it's not safe for you, so please be patient and wash them first. And if everything I said doesn't convince you to wash your new clothes, imagine that before you got them being in store or delivered. So that piece of gorgeous clothing that you got, that piece of clothing was checked in the fitting room by a sweaty someone who didn't take a shower for 2 weeks and wore a lot of makeup that is inside of the clothes. Do you feel gross? I hope so, because that's also something that could happen. But if that's more motivating for you to wash your new items, then I did my job well today. Clothes aren't just fabric. They're chemistry, and in today's fashion industry, there's a lot of chemistry going on. From dyes to finishes to the way the fibers are treated, every piece you wear is shaped by hidden processes most people never think about. Now, not every chemical is a bad guy, but knowing the risks give you the power to make smarter choices for your health and for the planet. If you enjoyed this video or you found it helpful, please give it a like, and if you're into this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss my new videos. And if you'd like to support my work directly, you can do that through Buy Me a Coffee. That helps me keep making more videos like this one. And for more regular updates or a look behind the scenes of how I make clothes, I share more on Instagram, so follow me there. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.